I always said, if we ever did something together, it would be awesome.
It'd be out of control.
And John would be billing us out of jail.
Yeah.
Next thing I did was work the auto show circuit as a narrator. The girls that stand on the hamster wheel of the car. They're like, this is the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I did that.
My sister said, you left the Jeep again, you came back as Don Lemon.
I offered the producers of PBR.
She had come from sit position, bit him in the balls, went back to sit position. And if I blinked and I hardly saw it and looked at her and she was just sitting there like
a ninja.
And I turned around and I said, you just missed 10 grand. He goes, why? And I said, because that was me being a dick.
8G hit and it hit so freaking hard. I'm like, maybe I should have landed in the grass.
I can hear you laugh from here, not through the screen, but from here.
And I left there feeling like a bag of dicks.
No, did she just say a bag of dicks?
Yeah, she did.
Like, let's say I want to get one of those Speed Marine hats. Where do I go to get it?
Oh, dude. Well, thank you.
You're not supposed to. You're supposed to act like it's normal. We integrate.
No, I always forget that part.
When they started asking, who here can drive a 6-shift? This is like 30 or 40 extras. None of them could. We had to test a couple of my mechanics as terrorists and put them in the cars to.
Tell the story again about the panties and the dog. And
I'll let you tell it.
If you're not hustling, you're sleeping.
How'd you pull that off, Chad?
Well,
you got some kind of magic wand or just a big wand?
Man, we could talk for weeks about this stuff. This is literally the most professional podcast I've ever done.
What's happening all? Tonight we got a good show. We got Jeff Schwartz, and I'm telling you, the dude is doing some crazy stuff. I met Jeff a few years ago at SEMA, and we talked. Super nice guy, super knowledgeable. He's building chassis. He's done land speed racing. He's breaking records. He does the Optima challenge. He does it all. He is a legitimate, real deal car guy. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the break. Me and John are going to tell lies, and you're going to get an update on my bourbon at the school, and I'm going to show John my CB. I'm like, dang old CB. Hit it, Ken. If you're a restoration guy or the Camaro is just your first project and you have that passion for it, call Camaro Central. Those are the guys you want to talk to. They have parts for first gen through 5th gen on the Camaros and 1st gen through 4th gen on the Firebirds. So they're not just Camaro Central, they're Firebird Central. Dude!
What?
See, I got this CB, man.
Yeah, I saw that.
Is that cool?
Where'd you get that at?
This, it was on Etsy. This guy in Hesperia, California makes them. He 3D prints them.
Really?
Yeah, my friend Jim sent me the link, and I was looking at it, and I handed my phone to Tina, and I said, "You got an Etsy thing, don't you?" And she's like, "Yeah, I go buy this."
Let me see it again. Put it up close. Looks light.
It is light. It's all plastic. It's hollow.
Yeah,
but he's got the old stop sign hat that we used to wear. Yeah. They originally had the Dixie cup, but you know what really bums me out, and I got to put it in there. He used to have a cigar. All the old statues have a cigar. I got to put a cigar in there, you know.
Yeah. You got to write them back.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, it's cool as hell. It's cool. Yeah. I got to paint it, but I'll get it painted up. Yeah. So how's 0 to 60 coming?
It's funny. We started off with Stacy. Stacy signed up. He's given us 152 episodes for 0 to 60.
No way.
Yeah. How cool is that?
That is
Stacy's
very
on board.
cool.
We're working through some of the details as far as his links and a couple other things and pictures. But yeah, Stacy's on board. All we got to do now is get Dan Short. We launch next Wednesday, and it should be noted that this is our last show for free on Facebook and YouTube. There'll be highlights and some shows and clips that come up, but not the full episode. That'll be on 0 to 60 live.
Yeah.
So
and we're pulling everything from the 35, 40 episode of Garage Insider and putting them on there too, right?
There's Ryan picked out a few. I don't know how many, but yeah, he's bringing up some of your stuff and putting that in the how-to. Terry Wilson is getting on board to give us some additional how-to, even though we're going to tweak some of his videos.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's agreed to come on. Of course, Joe Zolper, right? I talked to him today, so we're getting close. He's going to probably miss the launch deadline by a couple days for production, but he should be there the following Wednesday. Thanksgiving's messing up shit too, you know?
Yeah, well, it's Thanksgiving. It does that.
Yeah, but I figured the 22nd's always been lucky for movies. That's a big launch date because people were tied up Thursday, Thanksgiving. Come Friday, Saturday, they're sitting around wondering what to do. So guess what? Subscribe, 0 to 60 TV. So it's going to be a soft launch. I'll probably have a bigger launch party, all kinds of shit come December. But yeah, we'll be adding stuff all the time. There's Loose Penis.
There you go. What more can you ask for?
Loose Penis. What would that do?
Jeff is probably going, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, get it. You'd have to watch back 3 shows ago or so. Nick, to answer your question, it'll be on Roku. It's going to be on Fire TV. You'll be able to watch it on any Android, Apple, and it's online. It's going to be online. So any smart device, but yeah, Roku's probably your best bet.
Nick wants to know how to sign up.
You got to go online. You got to do it next week. After somewhere around noon on the 22nd, it goes live. But you go right to that website, 0 to 60 TV. We'll have a promo with all the stuff that you can get on there probably first week of December. Somewhere around there. We're working on that now, maybe sooner. But we still got, like I said, we still got people sending our stuff to upload it, their stuff, so we upload it and get it running.
Right.
But we have the cartoons, we got the old commercials, we got a couple car movies right now. We're going to pick up a bunch more. We got Corvette Summer. So that's going to be on there. It's one of my favorites from way back in the day. But we're going to work to get all the car movies that you grew up watching.
Yeah.
Shit from Grease to Smokey and the Bandit to, anything you can think. Vanishing Point, all the stuff.
Two-lane blacktop.
I get that too.
Dude, you need to... You need to see if you can get Hollywood Nights.
Oh, that was a good one too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just thought of that.
Yeah,
That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I remember watching that kid. New Bomb Turk.
Yep. Nomad had the Nomad in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's another good one.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
That was one of my, I got to tell you, that movie when I was a kid, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I was a young dude. Of course, that came out in the 60s before me, but I watched it on TV. When he took the boat and made it part of the car, then you see him taking the fireplace from out of the house. I was, as a kid, I remember going, what the hell? Of course, soon after that is when I found a screwdriver and a pair of pliers, started taking everything apart. My father and mother are like, what are you doing? They'd get me something for Christmas, and the next day I'd have it in pieces. So yeah, I remember watching that, but it did have an effect on me. And I'm thinking, if I could build something that flies, how cool would I be?
Exactly. Exactly.
That was a great movie, though. Didn't you say you knew where one of the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang cars are?
Yeah, there was. I was actually talking to a guy in Florida about restoring one. It's like one of two. He's got it, and then I also know where the last Vanishing Point car is.
We got Death Race 2000.
That's awesome.
We have that, and it's nice. All of them are of good quality. They're not grainy.
Cool.
But when I was a kid, I had the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang pedal car. You'd pull a lever and the wings would come out. Yeah,
I didn't know they had a pedal car.
Dude, if I still had that, it's probably worth about 10 grand. It was big.
I did not know that they had a pedal car.
They had a pedal car where the wings would come out the side when you pulled the lever.
Holy shit. Jeff can build you one.
Of course, me and my little brother beat the hell out of that thing. It wasn't worth shit in about a week, but I still had one. I got a picture somewhere.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, look, man, we can't have you reminiscing the whole episode. Jeff was waiting in the background.
That's the way I roll.
So, Ken, let's do a commercial and get Jeff out here. Now he's slowing to 0 to 60.
We're gonna pay for that.
Yeah, we are.
So did you guys know that AMSOIL is the corporate entity, and then they have independent dealers who sell their products? So here's the thing. We called up Nick at syntheticadvantage.com, and we said, Nick, we're doing the sticky green love machine, and we don't want it to be so sticky. And he said, guys, I got you. And here's our oil, right? So we've got all the fluids we need to get the sticky green love machine not so sticky. Check them out, syntheticadvantage.com. Tell Nick Lou sent you. Yeah. Guys, I misspoke. I showed you ATF. That's fantastic. It's fine. But they also sent soil. Synthetic Advantage. Yeah, that's right, Nick.
Jeff.
He's all chill.
Hey, Lou.
Dude, he's in his man cave. Of course he's chill.
Yeah. I get an echo in a thing.
Recliner here for it, you know?
Yeah, of course you got to have the recliner. Jeez, man. Let's be realistic about it. So I met Jeff the first time, John, at SEMA. Like, I knew who he was.
Yeah.
But he had a booth. I think I was signing at Classic Industry, and he was right across the way with a chassis. I spent more time talking to Jeff instead of signing autographs.
No wonder they didn't invite you back.
Super cool dude. So yeah. And then we were thinking of who we're going to bring on. I was like, damn, I need to call Jeff. So that's what I did.
Jeff, how big's that shop? Looks like you get an echo in the background there. It looks huge.
What's that?
How big is the shop? How many square feet?
Oh, this building is 7,200 square feet on the ground, and then I got 2,000 square feet upstairs. I've got a 1/32 scale slot car track upstairs that's a replica of Road America.
Oh my God. Track. Are you kidding me? That's cool.
And in this little room behind me, I've got a HO slot car track in there. So, you know, before radio controlled cars, when we were kids, we played with. First, it was like Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
And then you were a really cool kid if you had a slot car track.
Yep. I remember the AFX cars were a little bit faster than the HO cars.
Yeah, that's what I have is the AFX. HO
that is so cool.
And, and AFX is the cars that I've got here. Like all the neighborhood kids, if you had one of them, all the neighborhood kids would want to come to your house in the summertime, because back in those days we actually played outdoors when it was summertime. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
In those days you played. You played like a kid. You didn't play in front of TV. Yeah. Jeez.
We're throwing it back tonight. We're going way back. Yeah, Corvette Summer. We're talking the slot cars.
You're all over. Yeah.
Throwback.
Good times had by all. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Shit. So Jeff, when I called you, you were talking about doing some land speed racing. I know you've done a bunch of racing, but this land speed thing, you really got me You've got me. I'm interested. I want to know more. So, what exactly are you doing with the land speed stuff?
Well, land speed racing is mainly just straight line. The photo that's on the screen there is of me at a road course, and that's on one of the bikes. I broke a bunch of land speed records. I think I broke 12 with that bike. That's a BMW. But for years, you know, I've wanted to do some top speed type racing, and I don't remember when it was, but I think it might have been Keith Turk that founded the East Coast Timing Association a number of years ago.
Right.
And started doing runs at Maxton, if you remember that, in North Carolina. And so that always interested me, and I never really had the opportunity to go there. So, you know, as we're getting older, you know, the clock is ticking, and you need to have as many life experiences as you can. So I thought, you know, I think I'm going to go to one of those things, and I think I can maybe break a couple records. So I did that last October, October 2022, and I went there for a weekend, and I think I came back with 63 land speed records. And then the second time I think was, I don't know, 80. One of them was 81 speed records. So anyway, I went back with a couple different cars, couple different bikes. The Ducati behind me is a real it's a real crazy motorcycle. It's a 1299R final edition. So that was like the final edition super bike that Ducati made. They've now gone to 4 cylinders. So this particular bike makes around 200 horse at the tire, 197.8 at the rear wheel, which is 237 at the crank. It has titanium rods and valves in its stock, and I was running it in the production class. So I went 198.544 in the 2K with that bike, and or in the mile, actually. I did that on a mile, 198.544 in the mile. And then I had a couple of runs where I went over, I know I went over 200, because at the 1 mile, there's another quarter of a mile of acceleration that happens. And the timer was messed up. So I don't have an official record, but I know I went 202, 203 on the bike. One pass, my foot slipped off the foot peg, and I tried to pull my foot back up onto the peg, and there was too much resistance from the wind. And every pass that I was making was for 3 records. They were timing me at the half mile, the mile, and the 2K. So every single pass I made was a record run for a different class.
Wow.
So I kept the throttle pinned with my leg kind of flailing on the side. And I broke 3 records on that run with my foot off the peg. But that was pretty hairball stuff, you know?
Man, that's nuts.
Try to explain what it feels like to do 200 on a bike like that.
Well, the first pass that I made, I got out of the bubble. Basically, you're tucked in behind the windscreen, and at the end of the run, there's like yellow flags, and you kind of sit more upright. You get your head out of the wind, or out from behind the screen. And I did it too soon. You know, I thought I had slowed down far enough. And head up, it almost like ripped my head off, you know?
Yeah.
So my neck went into a spasm, and I had to like rub it out when I got back to the paddock to, you know, so it didn't stiffen up on me. But the first
You're lucky
year,
you didn't parachute off the thing, because you're probably doing what, 120 miles an hour when you looked up?
I think I was doing more like $150 or $160 or something.
Oh my God. That is crazy.
Needless to say, next pass I slowed down to 100 or so, you know, before I got out of the bubble. But
Jeez.
It's incredible.
So you said that you've set records with cars and bikes. What cars are you taking?
I went to that first event with a black Ferrari 599, and that Ducati, and I went 188 in the Ferrari, and I ran several different displacement categories with the bikes and the cars. So I showed up with a single car trailer with the bike parked sideways in the front and the Ferrari. And there was a local newspaper that did an article on it, and they interviewed the organizer of the event, and he says, yeah, he said most people show up here with a big crew to help them out, and Jeff just showed up by himself, you know. So I didn't know what the formalities were, what normal was, because I had never actually gone to an event,
right,
spectated and saw what went on. I just, you know, chucked the car and, you know, I've done that way kind of my whole life, where I do shit and get it done.
Right.
And, so anyway, that's how the first
go
around, I was there for 2 days, and I missed the first day because I had work obligations, and that was my first go around. And then obviously the needle is in the arm a bit after you participate in something like that. So.
Yeah. That's nuts. Go ahead, John.
Jeff, how did you get into cars, which led up to the speed, and what's the story behind the chassis, the bolt-on chassis being the first one to do that, and one of the GM cars? Explain the process up to where
well,
you just.
I guess those are two completely different questions, but to answer the first one, as a kid, you know, I just loved cars from the day I could remember. You know, I remember Hot Wheels came out in 1968, I think it was, and I was like 10 years old then. And prior to that, you know, when I was, you know, 3 and 5, I was playing with Tonka trucks and Matchbox cars. So I just had this love of cars and trucks from the time I was born. It was just in me. My father passed away when I was an infant, about 1.5 years old, but he did a lot of like street racing where he grew up in northern Minnesota, and he was a car guy from what I was told. But genetically, his genes obviously transferred to me.
Yeah.
I didn't have them around influencing me in any way, but I remember visiting my grandparents about every summer, and we'd be going places, and I was probably 5 years old, and I knew every car on the road. They were amazed that, you know, every car that came by, I would say, oh, that's a Galaxy 500, and, you know, that one's a Impala SS and things like that. So
yeah,
I think, you know, some people become car people as they age, and others are just like born into it. And I was, I guess, I'm grateful now that I was born into it, because
no kidding. That's cool.
Been a lot of fun.
That's way cool. So what's the deal with this citation here?
Well, back in the day, I started doing autocross. I bought a Corvette, you know, my first sports car, when I was 20 years old, and I wanted to you know, do I started doing autocross, and then the natural progression from autocross is road racing. So I bought a GT1 Corvette from my good friend Paul Mashute, and I bought it as a roller. He had built a new car, and it was an X-Trans Am Series Corvette, and I built an engine for it because I could afford the car without the engine and trans. So I pieced that together and got it, you know, running, and I took it to a test day, and I quickly found out that I couldn't afford to race it because, you know, I burned up a set of tires in one day, and the amount of race fuel that I used, you know, was, you know, more than I made in a week. You know what I mean? So I had the car, but I couldn't afford to race it. So I happened to buy this Citation X11 while I was working on the Corvette in the garage, and I found out that the SCCA was going to make the car legal for showroom stock B, and that class had been previously dominated by the Mazda RX-3 and the BMW, I think 318 or 320, and these cars had 135 horsepower, the X11, and it was GM's first front-wheel drive performance car, and it was actually pretty quick. I ran 16.3 in a quarter mile with it, bone stock. And a Corvette was about that back in the 15 seconds at about 80 miles an hour or something like that. So it was a pretty quick car. I think at Road America, they were clocking me at like 120 miles an hour down into turn 5. So anyway, I discovered that showroom stock racing is something I could afford because you use street tires and you could get like probably 2 or 3 race weekends out of that. So I decided, oh, I'm going to put a roll bar in there. I went to a driver's school, and then I went to Sebring, Florida in January of, what was it, 82. January of 82. I put my tools in there, put an extra set of tires, and my brother and I and a buddy jumped in the car, and we drove the Citation X11 to Sebring for the very first SCCA regional race of the year, because I didn't have a national license. So I had to run X amount of regional races to step up to the national level. And I wanted to go national racing right off the bat. So I go to Sebring, Florida. I end up finishing second in a field of national drivers because the national race was the next day. So, you know, they were practicing in the regional race. It was what they call a regional national double event. And Sebring, unbeknownst to me, the surface was very abrasive. It's got a lot of seashells and things like that in the concrete. So it wears tires out. When you go around a corner following another car, you can see the dust, the rubber dust coming off the tires in front of you. So I wore those tires down just in one race and practice and qualifying.
Oh, shit.
I wore them down to the cords. So we packed everything up, and the one with the cords we put on the back, and then we drove back to Illinois. And when I got back to Illinois, it was like, I don't know, 5 below zero or something. And I wanted to see my girlfriend, so I had her come over for a little bit, and then I had to give her a ride back. And I gave her a ride back in the Citation because that was kind of my daily driver car and my race car. And on my way back from dropping her off, the tire blew. The one with the cord blew out, and it was so cold out I couldn't do anything. But I drove home, and I got in the house, and I didn't even look at the car, and I went to bed because I had been driving for I don't know how many hours to get home from Florida. And I come out in the morning and I look at the tire, and there's a big like blown out sidewall all the way around the tire. But it was so cold out that the tire didn't collapse. The rim was perfectly fine. There was no scratches or
what are the chances of that?
So anyway, that was a fun story about the Citation X11. I couldn't afford to race the GT1 car, so I raced the X11. And then the following year, IMSA started a thing called Renault Cup Series. And I started doing that with these Renault cars, which is
I remember that
kind of a little shit box, but they paid $10,000 purse at every event.
Wow!
And we ran with the IMSA GTP cars, like on their race weekend. So we would go to the IMSA race, and we would run first, and then the big boys would run with the other cars.
Oh wow! So I always wanted to do a Citation, make it rear wheel drive, and make it a pro touring car.
There you go.
See?
I love that idea.
I mean, yeah, but you can't find them.
I know.
I haven't seen a Citation in forever.
Yeah, I haven't seen one either.
I think that'd be pretty cool, though. 0 to 6.
Jeff, you sent some pictures over of projects. Let's go go over some of the pictures you sent over, and let's talk about it because you got some cool shit.
You do.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah, that one there is pretty sexy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I just finished that like I don't know, a week or two ago, maybe. My friend Dennis Anisi built that car many years ago, and he was building it kind of for his wife, and then they ended up splitting up, and it ended up getting chucked in a barn for 35 years, and it was so. So about the last 10 years, I've been trying to sell it to me. he's a little older than me, and I don't think he's was going to ever get around to building it. But he did some incredible modifications, and I was able to drive the car back in the 80s one night before it went to the paint shop, or I call it paint jail. And and I ended up really loving the car. The big block. He took the 454 out and had Pro Motor Engineering build an L88 engine. And I don't know if they found a crate engine or if they found the parts, but all of the parts, heads, intake, block, all that stuff is date coded like 71. And I know they quit making L88s or quit putting them in cars in 69, but I think they made some like crate motors after that or something. But anyway, he did a lot of, he's a tool and die maker. So he made like every little suspension bushing was handcrafted by him on a lathe. Wow. And back in the day, Chevrolet put out a book every couple of years called the Chevrolet Power Book.
Yep, I remember them.
There was a whole section in there on how to modify the Corvette chassis for road racing. So it told you to seam weld all the welds on it, and it gave you little diagrams of gussets and where to put them. So he did all of that work. I mean, he spent hundreds and hundreds of hours building this thing like a Swiss watch. But anyway, it got stored in this pole barn with a gravel floor. And when I got to see it the first time, it was sunk down to the axles in the dirt. And on a fiberglass car, there's these metal plates, heavy metal plates that they pop rivet to the bottom of the car. With nuts for like seat belts and things. Yep. Those pieces were literally crumbs on the gravel.
Wow.
They had, these heavy metal pieces had corroded to literal crumbs.
Nothing.
And you could see what they were. The shape of them was in the gravel, but it was literally crumbs. Fortunately, the frame had been painted with Imron many years ago, which is like an epoxy or whatever.
Yeah.
The frame was fine. So I had a lot of work to do on all that stuff. And then I wanted to flare the fenders a little bit. So I sent that to Josh at Custom Image Corvettes. He's the only guy that makes flared fenders that have like a flat edge like the factory original.
Right.
Fenders. So anyway, he did the fenders and painted the car for me. And then I assembled it here at the man cave, and it's sitting back there over my left shoulder there.
Is that a stock color? Is it House of Colors? What color is it?
It's 1980 Corvette yellow. It was painted that color by my friend Dennis. It was originally a blue car, and he painted it 1980 Corvette yellow. And over the years of storage in this unclimate controlled barn, the paint started solvent popping. So there was little bubbles underneath the paint, and they had to literally scrape all the paint off of it with razor blades to do the finish work. And then I put some big Bear brakes on there, 14-inch Bear private labels brakes for us for our chassis. And I didn't, we just came out with a whole new line of Corvette chassis, but my friend put so much work into the stock chassis on this car, I didn't feel it would, be right for me to, throw away work.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's a lot of work.
So it's got 335 tires on the back, and it's been pumped up to somewhere around 575 horse.
So what's the deal with this Javelin here?
Yeah, that's my Javelin AMX. I've always loved those cars, and my friend Joe Salzberg also has one of those. It's purple, and we both love the shape of those cars. They're just different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all of the pony cars, I think they only made like 3,600 of these things. And
I didn't know it was that few.
I looked for one for years. My older friend Ray has one of these, and I'm trying to. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but anyway, he autocrosses it, and it's the same color as this one. And I've been I've been every time I saw his car, I would say, "Hey, you going to sell that?" And he says, "Never, never." And he bought it brand new in '72, and
wow.
And he's been autocrossing the car his whole life. And I went to an event years ago and saw his car, and it just kind of inspired me. Man, I'd love to have a car like that because it's just cool looking and odd. And there's really a cool story about the car because, as you probably know, Penske and Mark Donahue started doing the AMC racing effort in Trans Am series. I think it was either 69 or 70. And they won the Trans Am series, but this car was basically on the drawing board when they were competing with the older body style. And apparently they made a visit to the styling headquarters in wherever that was located. I'm not sure if it was in Kenosha or Detroit, but Dick Teague was the guy that designed this car. And, Penske and Roger Penske and Mark Donahue were there looking at the car, and they were asking him, could you bulge the fenders a little bit more so we can fit tires under there, and could you put the biggest spoiler that you can on the back to give us downforce, because the rules were you had to basically use the stock body, so if they could tweak all this stuff.
Yeah,
they said, hey, can you move the grill out flush with the surface? So there was a lot of things that, Penske and Donahue had an influence on this car. It was Dick Teague's design, but if you look at it, you can see the bulge fenders, the big spoiler, the flush grill.
Yeah.
The Javelins didn't have the flush grill, only the AMX got the flush grill.
Really? Didn't know that.
Well,
that is so cool. Oh, the Stewed.
Yeah, that's a customer car. It's a 1954, and we bulged the fenders on it, fabricated everything from metal. One of my fabricators, Ken Kellner, did the most of the metal work on that car, and we reshaped them on the English wheel and kept the body line in that front fender. You see how the door had a body line, and we kept the body line all the way to the front, and then. Basically, if you look at the car from a straight-on side view, excuse me, it doesn't look like anything different than stock. But when you look at it at an angle like this, you can see the curves in it.
Yeah.
And, that's how we like to do things. Very subtle, where it looks kind of stock. If you could go back to that AMX picture, a subtle body mod we did on that was we ditched the side marker lights. There was these gigantic side marker lights, and we got rid of those.
Yeah. Now, go back that one picture. Is that an LT4? What motor's in there?
Yeah, that's an LT4. We sent the blower out to be CNC ported, and then we put a 105 throttle body. We get about 800 horse out of that.
I was going to say, it's up there in the sixes out of the box. Huh. So the next picture, is that an LS motor that you converted over to make it look older? Yeah, it's fuel.
Yeah, that's my 1950 Studebaker. My two great uncles, which were my grandmother's two brothers, Helgi Hansen and Oscar Hansen in northern Minnesota, bought that from Erickson's garage in Kelliher, Minnesota. And that is an LS engine that we made brackets to put Studebaker valve covers. I machined the valley cover for a Studebaker oil filler neck. And then that's a Studebaker air cleaner that I modified. My buddy John McGann of Hot Rod was scrounging through a junkyard, and he posted a picture on Facebook of a Studebaker Lark that had most of that stuff on it. And I said, hey, could you go back there and grab that stuff for me? And he ended up going back there and grabbed the stuff out of a boneyard in California, shipped it to me.
Studebaker Lark is cool. They're so.
It has a drive-by-wire throttle body that's normally mounted on the front of the plastic intake manifold, and I put a 4-barrel manifold on there with EFI bungs and rails, and then we CNC machined a piece a tapered spacer to adapt the 4-barrel to the, I guess it's an 85 millimeter throttle body or whatever the LS3 has on it. So that's about 550 horsepower, and it weighs around 3,000 pounds complete. It's not all complete yet, but I weighed it before we started on it. And it's a surprisingly lightweight car. It was like almost, I mean, just a couple 100 pounds heavier than a Vega.
That is crazy. I would have never thought that.
The wheels are aluminum wheels that were custom made for me to mimic the stock steel wheels, and they'll take the factory dog dish hubcap. So those are 18 by 9s in the front and 18 by 11s in the back. And I was able to fit a 315 tire without mini tubbing it.
What? No way.
A fin spoiler there on the front to give it a little finished look. Most guys remove the ugly front bumper that's on those cars, and nothing on there, but we needed something to finish it off.
We have a question from Ward. He wants to know what transmission are you using? Is it the same in both cars?
That one has a T56 Magnum, and it came from American Powertrain with their billet aluminum quick shifter in there.
The LT4 would you use?
The LT4 has the 8-speed automatic.
Okay.
Oh wow,
that's probably.
We needed to make a whole new transmission tunnel because it's quite loud.
Yeah, that's a big. It is tall. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that I like the stance of this one. This thing here looks like it's pretty aggressive, just sitting still, which is a good sign. You know?
Yeah, that's not at ride height yet. We still got the hood to put on there and the bumpers, and the front end will come down a little bit more, and then obviously we've got adjustable coilovers. But it's not the stance. The rear's about where it's going to be, but the front's going to be a little bit lower than that photo shows. I have a 53 as well because I love those cars, but I would love to do that same treatment to my car someday. It's still in the project stage, but
that's very cool. So what else are you built? What else are you got on the docket to build or are building now?
Well, there's that Chevy Monza that there's a photo somewhere that
there it is. That must be that's it.
So that's a twin turbo. It's going to be a twin turbo small block. That's the components we're using. The intake manifold was entirely like CNC machined out of billet. And
little tiny turbos, I
Performance is building the engine in Wakanda, Illinois, and we fabbed all those giant intercoolers, and those are ceramic ball bearing precision turbos, and it's going to be pretty sick. If you look at this photo, you can see the rear fenders are bulged out. We widened the rear fenders about 3 inches, and the fronts are widened about 2 inches. And again, we fabbed those fenders pretty much from scratch. Ken did the fenders, and then Dick is doing most of the other fabrication on that.
Man, that's crazy. That's a nice rig. That's a full-size car. Man, that's a fat girl there, buddy.
When's the last time you saw a 70 Thunderbird?
Been a while.
70 Thunderbird.
It's been
my father had one of those. It was fast as shit, and it was loud, and you wouldn't think so.
That one had a 429 in it.
Yeah.
Man.
And they look chopped from the factory.
They do.
Interesting story that you can't see it from this photo, but it's got a kind of a pointed front end on it.
Yeah.
It comes to a point. Well, apparently Bunky Knudsen left Pontiac and went to Ford. And he said, it's a Thunderbird. It's got to have a beak on it. So he had worked previously with Larry Shinoda, and Shinoda was at Ford then. So he called Larry Shinoda in and had him, make a beak on it. So that's the story I heard about those, about why they had that pointy front end for a couple of years.
You know, that was a luxury car back in the day. You know,
yeah.
They came.
Yeah,
they came. Loaded.
I had that. You're right. It was a luxury car and a kind of a big luxury boat, right?
Yeah.
But I had it in my man cave here, parked next to my Challenger Scat Pack wide body.
Yeah.
And this Thunderbird looked absolutely miniature next to it.
Really?
It was crazy how small it looked next to a Challenger.
Holy shit!
Who would have thought that?
I would have never thought that. I mean, if it. Well,
maybe I'm blowing a gasket, but didn't they make around 72, 73 a 4-door with suicide doors, Thunderbird?
Yeah, I believe this same body style you could get with a 4-door, and I think it had suicide doors. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see many of those. You don't see these around either.
You don't see, you don't see.
That's something everybody's stepping over, going, "Yeah, give me the Chevelle." But that thing looks pretty badass.
Yeah.
So
it's got the right stance and everything. I mean, it looks good.
There you go. O'Gorman says, 74-door had suicide doors. That's what I thought.
I guess the current trend is, with Chevelles and Camaros and the common cars getting expensive, you can still find cars like this for a reasonable amount of dough and have something totally unique.
Yeah.
Jeff, what do you think of the current trends, and where do you think things are going with the EVs?
Oh, that's an interesting subject. That's actually an interesting subject because what arrived at my shop today in 2 giant pallet boxes is 2 complete front and rear Tesla drive units. So we are doing a 68 Firebird chassis using this this drivetrain. I think it's a Model 3 Plaid or something drivetrain, all-wheel drive, and I don't think I am at liberty to divulge the customer's name, but it's someone affiliated with Tesla. So that's it's interesting. I think that from what we've seen at SEMA, hydrogen is kind of coming around a little. And
I'd like to do a hydrogen car.
And I heard that the truck stops Buc-ee's and Love's signed a deal with Cummins to put hydrogen fueling stations in those truck stops. I think they were going to have them in all their truck stops by the end of 25 or something.
Yeah, because Cummins just released that hydrogen motor.
Right. So I mean, we all know if you're a car guy, you have some mechanical things in your brain, and you look at how things work. And when you look at the whole electric deal, it's so harmful to the environment with respect to lithium mining and cobalt mining and things like that.
Right.
The country of Chile uses 98% of their country's water supply to mine lithium.
What?
And it's like, because they have to flood things to get it, to extract it. So anyway, we'll see how that all shakes out. But it's just horribly, they don't ever want to show you a picture of a lithium mine. You know what I mean? So I think hydrogen would be a better alternative. And the other thing is Toyota has been selling hydrogen vehicles in certain cities worldwide and in California for, I think, 10 years now or something like that. So the infrastructure isn't really there for, widespread fueling. But if these truck stops start putting it in, I think, more and more of that is going to happen. I happen to like E85 as well. E85 is a renewable fuel. You grow it, you know what I mean? And
right.
I've had a couple of cars running on E85, and we're putting together a 79 vet shop car right now with our independent rear suspension, with inboard shocks, with rocker arms. It's really trick stuff. And we're going to do a high compression small block, and we're going to run E85. So we're thinking we can get somewhere close to 700 on a small block Chevy with E85. We'll run like, I don't know, 12-1 or 12.5 to 1 compression.
Right.
And then you can also run more timing, which gains power when you have that high of octane. But generally, on some of the supercharged stuff we've done, you know, there's 100 to 150 more horsepower with the E85.
Yeah.
And that yellow Scion that I set all the land speed records with and won the Optimum thing, that's running E85 with cast pistons. I've been racing it for 5 years, an internally stock engine, 1.9 liters, making 480 horsepower with cast pistons. And just recently, I lifted the head when I was setting those land speed records. I lifted the heads and it started pressurizing the cooling system. I still had stock head bolts in it, and they must have stretched.
Gee, I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why, right? If I had done it right, I would have put some ARP studs in from the beginning, and then. But now what I found out is there's a company that makes a complete closed deck, which is better for boost short block. So they basically take a brand new engine case from Subaru, because it's a flat 4 Subaru engine in that Scion, and they machine out and insert these pieces in there, and they may weld them in. I'm not sure. I think they weld them in and then remachine the block, but they make it a closed deck, and it's about 5,700 for a short block, and it'll hold 800 horsepower. So my turbo setup is good for 650. So I think if the next step is I'm gonna have order up one of those engines and then have my friends at P&L Motorsports put it back together.
You mean your next step is going for 800 horsepower? That's what you're saying.
Well, I have other things. I have a twin turbo Camaro here that makes 1,000. So,
jeez. So the
Scion, there's 480 at the crank. It's 410 at the rear wheels,
which is damn good.
For Bob O's question there.
So what I wanted, because I teach now at a high school auto shop, and I was kicking around ideas of what to do, and I thought, because Toyota's been doing the hydrogen, and Toyota also came out there. They said they're working on an engine that runs on ammonia, which is supposed to be really clean.
Yeah, I heard that.
But Arrington Motors, they just did, I guess it was at SEMA 2 years ago. They did like a 47 Chevy truck with an LSA that was all hydrogen.
Yeah,
I really think that, Mike. I couldn't remember his name, Mike, and I know Mike. I forgot his name, but I think that would be cool to do a project like that with the high school students.
Yes,
because you're showing them something that's totally different, and I feel it's relevant. And what I like about it is still an internal combustion engine, so you're not deviating too far, into electric cars or anything like that. That the drivetrain is basically the same as it's been forever. You just have hydrogen running it.
Yeah, exactly.
It only takes one thing like that to change a kid and change the direction of the future.
Well, dude,
so you should do that.
Well, the Suburban. All right, Ken, put one of the pictures of that dirty Suburban up.
Oh, that's nice. I saw it. It's nice.
So that's my 82, and it came out of Buffalo, Jeff, and it's all rotted out. The door frames are rotted out. So I brought it in my fundamentals class, the kids who've never worked on cars before, I've got them tearing it apart so we can do a body swap. And the reason why I did it was because they don't know how to use hand tools. So when you're taking it apart, you have to learn how to use the hand tools. That was my whole thing. And I got kids telling me that they've never done anything like this before. They're blown away that we're going to take the body off the thing. You know what I mean? They don't know. They don't know what to do. It's crazy. Yeah. But that's what I'm doing with that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
Does that license plate say POS or no?
Not yet, but it will.
Look at that engine. That's nice. Blue, that's nice. Should have
That
got
thing's
him
been
the
sitting
power
like
washer.
10 years.
So that needs a 632 on hydrogen.
That would be badass. That would be a lot. That would be fun.
Wax on, wax off. Clean this thing.
No, that's gonna be the new when we do the new body. That's what we're gonna do. Yeah, I'm leaving it all dirty.
Huh. Interesting. Jeff, I saw in the notes somewhere you had built an 81 twin turbo Trans Am. Tell us about that, because I'm a Trans Am guy, or used to be anyhow.
Well, I like all cars, but I've probably owned more Firebirds than anything. But the 81 Trans Am was a car that I really liked, and I found one in Texas, and my buddy Todd Ryden from MSD ended up putting it in their storage lot for me. I had a tow truck pick it up and haul it over there, and I picked it up on the way back from SEMA one year, and anyway, I built it was an LS based engine, like an LS9 block that had the oil squirters that squirt on the bottom of the pistons.
Yep.
And I assembled the engine myself, fabbed the whole turbo system, and it was 1,040 at the rear wheels. I was actually intending to do land speed racing with that car, but it seemed like every time I turned around, something was, going wrong with the car. Not so much with what I did, but other things like, the windows would come out of adjustment and they would like pop out when you went over 100 miles an hour, and the body was never really designed to do. But I ended up, my wife was worried that the car was going to, spring an oil leak and start on fire and kill me. So I ended up selling the car. But it made 1,040 horsepower. I won the popular Hot Rodding Muscle Car of the Year shootout, which was not just an award for a pretty car, but they actually we went to Ohio and did drag racing and auto and a whole bunch of things, and I ended up beating some significant competition with that car. But it was really pretty streetable and tractable. But when it came on to boost, it was quite the
different.
machine. I have a 79 Z28 in the back here that makes slightly less horsepower because it's a small block Chevy based dart block AFR head combination.
Oh wow!
I really like those second gen F bodies a lot, and that one was a milestone. I ended up selling it at Barrett Jackson, and hoping to never see it again, but a local guy in Chicago bought it and it came back here, and I ended up working on it a bunch of times. But about a year ago, and I bid on it and maybe seeing if I could get it back, but it went for more money than I had planned on, and it's still out there somewhere, but I don't know exactly where it is. But it was a really fun car. It had our chassis. We started developing chassis for unibody cars, a bolt-in full frame for unibody cars many years ago, probably about 18 years ago now. And, we were the first to do that along with the first to do the bolt-in muscle car chassis. And now we're up to 125 different vehicle applications for chassis. So, classic cars, classic trucks, pretty much everything. All the way into the 80s, like the G bodies is one of our most popular GM G body cars. But anyway, the Trans Am had that full frame that bolted into the unibody car, And then I had a bolt-in roll cage that Ride Tech made called the Tiger Cage. It was a
I
stainless
remember that.
stainless steel cage that was really a nice setup. They discontinued it because it didn't sell like they had planned. But that car was a really nice car to drive. I
Sounds it.
Here it is.
Something like that one, yeah.
Yeah, that's the anniversary.
And incidentally, that car was the graphics and all the stuff on that car. I had like a one of a kind bird on my car, and the whole rendering of the car was designed by Murray Paff out of Detroit.
Yeah, I know Murray.
Murray and I are going to be together this weekend at the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals show in Chicago this weekend. So,
oh wow, cool.
We're going to share some space down there, and but anyway, that was the story behind the Trans Am. Did I answer everything for you, John?
Yeah. Also, my next question is two. The one's about the Cadillac attack.
All right, yeah.
We don't have pictures of that, but explain why.
So the deal with that was before they started calling pro touring cars, before that term existed, I had been inspired by this car called the AMG Hammer. It was like mid 80s, and it was this giant full-size Mercedes that went these crazy top speeds and did really quick quarter miles. And I thought, it'd be really cool to do something like that with an American luxury car icon. And I'm more of a GM guy than a Ford guy. So I was on a business trip in El Paso, Texas, and I had this plan in my head, and, Texas rust free, so I'm driving by all the seedy used car lots in the bad part of town. And I happen upon this Cadillac sitting there with 995 painted on the windshield with shoe polish, and I pull in there, and I had a 455 Oldsmobile engine that I had pulled out of a station wagon. And me being a machinist, I had massaged every piece of that engine, polished the rods and shot peened them, and low temperature carbonitrided the crank. And I did all these crazy things to this Oldsmobile engine. And so I ended up wanting a diesel because the diesels were exempt from emissions. They were a 350 diesel.
I remember them, yeah.
And an Olds 455 would bolt right in its place. So this Cadillac for $995 ended up being a Fleetwood Brougham coupe, which was a very rare two-door Fleetwood Brougham. And
oh God,
I ended up buying the car for $750, and I drove it home. Basically, I basically blew off my plane ticket and went to AutoZone and grabbed a gallon of coolant and a gallon of oil, and every time I filled up with fuel, I ended up having to fill up the oil because it didn't burn oil, but it was just leaking from everywhere. So it took me about, several years to put that together. And then CarCraft had this, it was lowered, had 17-inch wheels, and nobody made suspension for it. So I had to make all my own things.
Right.
And CarCraft had this shootout in 2002, I guess it was. I finished the car in 95 or 96. I won an award at the CarCraft Nationals that year in Minnesota. And then they had this program called Real Street Eliminator. Eliminator, where they would do like autocross, a street drive, drag racing, and a whole bunch of things, almost like the Optima series is now.
Yeah.
And so I ended up winning it. They did it in Bristol, Tennessee. I went down to Bristol, and I finished second in the autocross, and a GM suspension engineer won, and with a Trans Am, and he also was allowed to use Hoosier tires. Any tire that was DOT was deemed legal, and Hoosiers are like sticky race tires. But he ended up nipping me just by a little bit. And then I smoked everybody in the quarter mile. I ran 11.8 in the quarter mile. And you had to run the same tires for autocross and street. So anyway, that basically I wasn't in the business at the time. I just built this thing in my garage at home, and like 4 or 5 years earlier, and then it won that event, and then I went on Hot Rod Power Tour, and my friend Kevin Ostie,
Kevin,
a TV show on Outdoor Network or something, V8 TV.
Yep.
Well, I take that back. At that time, he was still with Hot Rod. He was producing Hot Rod TV.
Yeah.
And so I went on Power Tour, and he ended up working right across the street from me, ironically, at a company prior to him going to work for Hot Rod. So I knew him before he went to work for Hot Rod. And then he ended up giving in a lot of air coverage on Hot Rod TV. And then, one thing led to another. And then I ended up losing my job, and I had all this magazine coverage and TV coverage on my Cadillac. So it kind of was the car that was the stepping stone to me being a legit car builder, I guess.
Right. That's cool.
And I sold the car 17 years ago, right after I started my business, to help, fund things. Yeah. And a guy found it in New Jersey in a driveway, derelict, sitting on 4 flat tires earlier this year. And he called me up and he said, "Hey man, I found your car, and I'm thinking I'd like to buy it." And I said, "Well, you better buy it then, And I said, "I think I can get it for real cheap, I said, "Well, send me some pictures." So he sent me pictures. I said, "Yeah, that's my car, It still had the CarCraft Real Street Eliminator decal across the windshield.
Wow.
So, long story short, he bought the car. It ended up being more work than that he could put into it. The entire interior was filled with mold. And I had custom interior with Recaro buckets and all that. So I ended up buying it. I told him, "Look, if you buy the car and you don't like it, I will buy it for $1,500 more than you paid for it. So you got nothing to lose. Just go buy it."
Yeah.
I said, "Or give me the phone number," because he was calling me like every couple of weeks. He'd call me and tell me about the car over a period of like 6 months, And I'm like, "Dude, just buy the freaking thing."
Shop the guy, yeah.
So I ended up, he bought it, and then he ended up selling it to me, and then he squeezed a little bit more than the $1,500 out of me, but I ended up buying it back, and I took and put some Z06 Corvette wheels on it, some 20s and 19s that I had laying around, and some modern tires. I took it to Des Moines in July, and the mold in the interior, I had to put an ozone generator in it. I bought one off Amazon, and I put an ozone generator in there, and that kills mold. So
I didn't know that.
And closed the doors. I did Google searching and found out how to do this. So I did that, and then I took it to a detailing shop, and they shampooed everything and got rid of all the mold spores and everything. And then I put fans in it and dried it out, and then I put the ozone generator in for a few more days, and eventually all the mold was gone, and I was able to clean it up. And my buddy Eric Curtis ended up buffing the car, and he had to repaint the bumpers and did a few little things, but there was only 1,500 miles put on it in 17 years.
Holy shit!
And it had a brand new Goodyear Eagle 17-inch tire, Eagle F1s or something that I had put on it, and they were all dry rotted and everything. So I ended up taking it to the Des Moines Good Guys event. I ran it in the autocross, but the course there was set up a little too tight for this 126-inch wheelbase gigantic boat.
For that barge.
So the Good Guys events, the autocross always ends on Saturday. So Sunday there was a high-speed autocross at Blackhawk Farms Raceway in South Beloit, Illinois. So I was going to happen to be driving right by there on my way back home. So I said, well, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and get over there and try running it in the high-speed event. So basically it's a open road course. There's no cones, and you just race against the clock. There's nothing autocross about it. It's just road course, against the clock. So I went out there and I won my class with car without doing. All I did to it was put a set of rebuilt calipers on it, and I rebuilt the carburetor. It still had the same plug wires, the same spark plugs, the same.
Oh my God!
17.
Well, you know, they only had 1,500 miles, so it's okay.
Jeff, before we go, talk about Schwartz Performance. Give it a plug and tell everybody what you do if they can't figure it out by now.
Well, Schwartz Performance is a company that I founded like 19 years ago, and I was running a manufacturing plant at the time, and I lost my job due to some corporate restructuring, and I had to reinvent myself. So my friend Andrew Borden and I were talking one day, and I was kind of depressed, and I ended up filing bankruptcy and some other things, and he said, don't be depressed. Look at it this way. Now you're free to do whatever you want. And he said, if you could do anything in the world, what would it be? And I said, well, I'd kind of like to build hot rod cars. And he said, well, there you go. And I said, I started with the yeah, buts. And it's like, yeah, but I don't have any money. And yeah, but the biggest reason for failure of a business is underfunding. And he said, well, you'll figure something out. So I thought about it for a few days, and it's like, well, I do have a 401k, and I got like 20 grand in there. So I withdrew like 10 grand, and I was able to buy a TIG welder and a car lift, and I bought the biggest air compressor that Home Depot sold. And I rented a little 1,500 square foot building, and I took all the tools from my garage and brought them there, plus these new things that I bought. I bought a sheet metal brake from Harbor Freight and some other little things. And lo and behold, one day I got a call. It's like, hey, you want to build this Dodge Dart project, and it's got to be done in like, I don't know, six months or something like that. And going on Hot Rod Power Tour. And it's like, well, okay, I'm stupid enough to sign up for that. So yeah, I had 36 of my friends coming different shifts, and literally 36 people working on the car, helping me try to get it done. And I think it was actually like Power Tours in June, and this was like in March 1st. So it was like March, April, May. It was like 12 or 14. Yeah, like the weeks, something like that.
So the big question is
started the business, and Murray Paff was the reason I got that job. So I got to thank him for turning me on. And the guy that was contracting me the job was Jimmy Day, who now runs the FM3 marketing, which is the promoters of the Optimus series and a bunch of other entities.
The big question is now, Jeff, is so did the 36 guys that help you build the Dart, are they still your friends?
Yeah, actually one of the guys still works for me. He's been with me on and off for 19 years, I guess. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
You must have did something right, because that's a hell of a shop that you got behind you. There's like quarter mile between here and the yellow car.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty far. That's nice.
My regular shop, our business, I was renting buildings, and I had about 20-some thousand square feet. And about a year and a half ago, it was probably 2 years ago. 2 years ago, the buildings I was renting got sold, and the new guy comes in and he says, I'm going to have to raise your rent. And I said, well, I know that, but remember, this is McHenry County, not like Cook County, like closer to Chicago. So this is out in the boonies here, and the price isn't the same out here, Yeah. And so he came to tour the shop after he bought the place, and he was looking around, and I could see the wheels turning. Like, there's no way this guy can move all his shit out of here, There's like too much stuff here to move. And, he was a nice fella, and I understood it from his standpoint. He bought the building, paid more than the other guy did. So he had to, get return on his investment. So it's like, no hard feelings. Fortunately, I didn't have any lease. So the guy that I had rented from we just had a handshake deal for like 8 years. You know what I mean? And maybe it was longer than that. But anyway, so I didn't have any lease that I was bound to by the new owner.
Right.
So I could do what I want. So he come in and he came up with a plan, and it was like a 5-year minimum lease of 5 years, and he had increases every year, and like immediate like 25% increase, and it was like a 50% increase over the course of this time frame. And it's, you know, I understand, but I can't do that, you know. So I ended up finding a building in Harvard, Illinois, that was 10 miles from the old location. I was in Woodstock, so now I'm in Harvard. So I found this building that had cranes in it. It was a modern industrial building that was about 10 years old on 5 acres of land. It was 34,000 square feet. It's pre-excavated for a 22,000 square foot addition. You know, the gravel base has already been put down. And so I ended up buying the building. And so now the monthly nut is the same as it would have been if I had stayed there. But the problem was I didn't have enough capacity. I was 8 months backlogged on chassis. People would call and they'd have to wait 8 months for a chassis. Incidentally, there's some companies right now that are quoting 14 months for chassis right now.
Really?
And, so now we're at 6 to 8 weeks right now. And by moving to the bigger operation, we were able to add more workstations and get them done quicker. So we got all of our backlog cleaned up, and now we're, you know, getting to the point where we may start building inventory so that we could ship them out when somebody calls for one.
That's cool. That's good. It's good that it's good that you were able to get caught up, because that's a lot of damn work, man.
You did something right.
I couldn't have done it without relocating, because the building I was in was so constrained. I just couldn't get any more output. So
you couldn't grow.
I was forced to do this, but you know, every time something happens that seems bad, it ends up being good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
works out.
Man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So just so you know, Jeff, when Ken puts this like this, that means he wants to go home. So
oh, see, he was ready. He was waiting for you, Lou.
He was waiting.
Handbag you.
That was at a Christmas party.
He was the Puerto Rican Elvis.
there you go.
That's what Lou had hair. I don't know if you noticed.
That's a wig.
I know. It's been a long time since Lou had hair.
I guess, yeah.
I'm right behind.
It's been a real long time. All right, so Jeff, tell everybody where they can find you, your Instagram, your social media handles, everything. Just give it all out.
Well, that's my personal Instagram, Jeff E. Schwartz, and the company Instagram is Schwartz Perf, PERF, and then schwartzperformance.com is our website, and then we are on Facebook, Schwartz Performance Inc. on Facebook. We do have a YouTube channel as well, and I do a monthly shop update video every month of all the projects we're working on. And
that's cool.
I would appreciate a few more subscribers there, because you know, I don't get any monetization, but it's pretty good content, and people love seeing stuff actually getting finished and done.
Yeah.
A lot of shows, they don't, you know, you don't see stuff getting done, right? So
yeah, no kidding.
It's true.
Very cool. Let's check it out. There you go. Jeff, we'll have to have you back on so we can talk about more land speed stuff, because I know that's going to be pretty crazy. You're going to keep doing that.
Yeah, and we never got to talk about vintage motocross either. So
yeah,
vintage motocross. What? Oh yeah, we can't get.
I want to tour the shop. I want to play with the slot car.
Motocross History Museum, and the Mako and the Boltaco and the Rupp mini bikes that are in the background here. So.
I had no idea. No idea.
Jeff, appreciate you coming on. We got to
really,
when Ken's putting us up, that means he either has to pee or he needs to go home.
And he is old, so it's probably pee.
Well, we should say that. Bam, bam. That's when I had hair.
Well, we should check out then so we can all go pee.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jeff, thanks for coming on. See, we'll talk again. I promise. All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right.
Wow, that was quick.
0 to 60 TV. Need some sound effects with that, Ken. Either that or burnout or something. Yeah, Jeff's a good dude. He does nice work. You see his stuff.
Dude, he does nice work, and I'm telling you, man, the guy he's sharp. He's sharp.
I'll tell you, when he sent the pictures over the other day, I'm looking at the pictures and I'm thinking, when you could see how clean the shop is, because my shop's always a mess. When I'm done, I just drop everything and walk out because I'm pissed off or finished, So, but I was looking at how clean his stuff. I'm like, there you go. The guy, when you look at his work, you're like, yeah, that explains it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you hear, the thing is too, you hear this guy go bankrupt, has troubles, doesn't know what he's going to do. And then you turn around and look how he turned things. He looks like, it sounds like he's better off now than he was 20 years ago.
No shit.
That's something in itself, doing what he wants.
That's the thing. He's doing what he wants to do.
Yeah. Not running a plant.
Exactly.
With a whip.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
May the Schwartz be with you.
People often ask, how do you pronounce your last name? I always tell them it's Schwartz. They go, what? I go, hey, get out of here. You know what I mean?
God. All right. Well, John, say good night.
Good night. I'll talk to you later, Luke.
All right. There you have it. Now you got sound effects.
Know about the sticky green. I should have the motor back. I know it's been like a year. But the motor should be back next month.
Oh, God.
So, Lou, if you're home playing with your ass at Christmas, maybe you can come up and we'll slide the thing in.
Yeah, we can do it.
The motor, that is.
We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. It's easy peasy.
Yeah.
All right. So just so everybody knows, next week we won't be on because everything's going to be focused on 0 to 60. Just so you know that.
Next Wednesday we launch.
Yeah.
Soft launch, but it's going to be live. You're going to be able to download all the apps wherever you're at and do your thing.
Yeah. So
Sign
just
up.
remember that. And in that way, and once 0 to 60, the dust settles on that, we'll probably pick back up when? In the summertime for this?
Nah, probably March or April. We're going to do less shows next year, but it's going to be the who's who type of thing. That's the plan. We still got to talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's 10 or 12 next year instead of jumping on, I don't know how many we do, 26.
So I don't know. We do a bunch of that.
We will be live, just like we're live now. We'll be live on 0 to 60 TV.
Okay.
So it's all good. We got some heavies coming. I can't announce the stuff until contracts are signed and everything's.
Yeah.
We got some good stuff. It's going to slowly build into a powerhouse, but right out of the gate, we're trying to upload as much as we can, as fast as we can. But come December, January, it should look like it should. We were expecting.
Yeah.
Be kick ass. You know the deal.
Oh yeah.
Right? Well, lights will be on next week.
All right.
All right, Lou. I'll talk
That'll
to you.
work. All right.
Thanks.
Later.
See ya.
All right. Remember, everybody, next week we're not going to be doing the show. We are going to continue doing it. We just got to take some time off because John and his crew have got to get 0 to 60 going. And that's where we're going to move everything to. So just keep that in mind. I know they're moving some of my Garage Insider TV stuff over there. And I'm probably going to start shooting some stuff at the school with the kids when we get ready to take the body off the Suburban. So we'll keep you in the loop. I mean, there'll probably be some videos popping up on like Garage Insider TV giving updates or whatever we got to do, and we'll go from there. Thanks for coming on, Jeff. Till next time, keep it between the lanes. Later.
Firebird Central covers 1st gen through 4th gen Firebirds. They also do Camaros because why? They're the same company. So it's intermingled, not to mention some of the parts are the same. That's where you go if you're building your Firebird. 1st or 4th gen, remember that. Firebird Central.